Welcome! This is going to be a quick and easy tutorial on how to make a juggling ball that looks like this. This is balloon on the outside and rice on the inside, so we're going to use rice and balloons to create this. A couple reasons why you would want to do this. Rice and balloons are pretty common and nice and cheap. You can customize this to fit in your hand nicely, and once you get more experience with juggling, you'll know what feels good and what feels good to juggle. Another great reason these are good for beginners is when you drop them, they don't bounce, they just kind of splat. So this is our goal. To get started, we need rice, so I got a bowl full, and balloons. The first step is going to be taking a balloon and cutting the neck off. This can be a little tricky and take some practice, but grab some extra balloons and just plan on making as many balls as it takes to get some that are really comfortable. When I cut this neck off, once I just kind of go for it to start and see where you land, but in general try to cut a little higher and leave more neck than you think, because you can always cut more off. The next phase is actually going to involve another tool. So if you've got a paper cup or a red solo cup here, you can pop a hole in the bottom. This is going to be used as your funnel. So pop the balloon over the top, fill with rice, just kind of push that rice in. Sometimes it can help if you've got a tool. I forgot mine, but I'm just gonna quick grab a kendama here to help plunger that rice in. In general, you'll need enough rice to stretch the balloon out. You might notice that I'm doing this over the bowl of rice, so I don't have to worry about making as much of a mess. So this is kind of what we're shooting for here. Oops. And you'll notice I kind of have a little extra neck. I'm not going to worry about it on this stage because we're going to pop another balloon over the top. So it can be kind of fun to alternate colors because each skin is going to have a little bit of a hole on top. So this is where I'm kind of getting at. It takes some practice to get the feel for how far to cut that balloon to get the proper distance. When you're popping a balloon on your second skin, I always aim to turn it inside out and get that thumb directly over the hole. In this case, it's an open hole. And then stretch it as tight as possible around. This is going to keep that hole. So here I've got a new hole, and my old hole is as far away as possible, because if, as you're juggling and these squish around, those holes ever line up, then the rice starts coming out. So at this stage, I'm not going to worry so much about the extra here, because I'm just going to cover it up. But I do want to stretch it as tight as possible at every stage. We'll grab another black balloon for the last piece. Another thing to note is that if, as you're juggling these in the future, they seem a little on the small side or on the large side, it's actually pretty quick to peel these skins off and redo the rice once you know how. So don't feel like you're locked in to your final choice. Now, I once again have a little extra on the neck. So here's the tricky point where once I stretch this tight, I want to remove as much of this as possible. If we go back to this opening example here, This is what we're shooting for, something where there's a smooth transition. If there's a lip here, it'll catch, rub, and peel, and if this top hole stretches out too, if it's too large, as you squish, it's going to kind of peel out the too large hole. So we'll see how I'm doing. I haven't made these in a little bit, so I have to relearn the specific distance that is going to give me the best size hole. Okay, so here we're a little bit closer, but there's that little bit of lip, so well, actually, let's see. Sometimes if you just squish it and squish, you can get the feel of if that lip is going to stay. And if there's just a little bit too much, you can go in, stretch it, and just try to cut a little bit more off. Which, the further along you are, the more dangerous it is, because you run the risk of having a hole that's a little too big. And there we go. I'd say I kind of overshot it. So, it's a learning curve, but if you grab some balloons and rice, they're cheap enough that you can get a little extra, more than you need, and practice. And I could even go four layers deep and just pop one over the top here and try again. So a little bit of a touch feel, but I'm glad that you're taking the time to get some juggling equipment and learn yourself.